here we are again, reading Odyssey Book 1 and commenting, and we're starting with line 80 today. Ton de œbet եպειτα θεά γλαυκῶπις Athene, O pater ច្μείβετε Κρονίδη, ύπατε κρειόντων, τοῦτο φίλον μακάρεσσι θεοῖσιν, νοστῆσαι Ωδυσσῆα πολύφρονα, όνδε δόμονδε, Αιρμείαν μεν ἐπειτα διάκτορον, άργε φόντεν, νέσονες όγωγιεν ο τρούνομεν, όφραtakista, νύμφο πλοκαμό, ច្μείβετ μπούλεν, noston Odysseus talasiphronos hoskene. That's enough, I think. Let's see.
Just one thing. You accidentally said nympho instead of nymphe in 86.
Right?
In 86.
In 86. Nymphe plocamo ច្μείβετ boule.
Nice. Sorry.
Yeah.
Then the goddess, gray-eyed Athena, or owl-eyed Athena, answered him, O son of Cronus, our father, highest of the mighty ones, or the ruling ones, of the rulers, of the ruling gods even, tοῦτο. If this is dear to the blessed gods, that Odysseus, wise Odysseus, return to his home. Now I'm going to run into some words that are difficult. Let us then rouse Hermes, diáktορος, and honestly I forget what I ever knew about that word.
It's a gloss.
And then I was sitting here trying to remember what the verbal root in ktoron might be, but anyway, it's a gloss. Is this the one where he goes through walls? I can't remember.
Kind of souls or something like that, I think.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just saying that's one. I have no. I'm not.
But it's opaque.
It's opaque. Yes.
It's not that. It's not that you could interview somebody in the late 7th century, in the early 7th century, and say, what does this mean?
And they would tell you.
And they would tell you, or they would tell you, different people will tell you different things.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of a verbal root that, kter, and I'm not coming up with anything in my mind, but anyway.
If you have ģitere and stuff like that for funeral rites, right?
Right.
I mean,
Okay. Well,
but it could be all kinds of ways of dividing it, and who knows what.
I think we spent enough time
Yeah.
saying we don't know what it means.
Yes, but the ancient world didn't know what it meant.
Well, that's right.
So that's our excuse.
Yes.
Well, correct. So let us rouse Hermes, diáktορος, the slayer of Argos, to go, just supplying that, to the Isle of Ogygia, so that he, as quickly as possible, may say, or may tell our unfailing, I'm coming up with the wrong word for ច្μείβετ, our not unfailing, but our true is what it means.
Unerring?
Unerring,
Yeah,
thank you.
Doesn't
That's it.
miss the mark,
That's
right?
it.
Yep.
May tell our unerring counsel to the nymph with the beautiful hair, namely the return of Odysseus. This is the counsel, the god's counsel, the return of Odysseus, long-suffering Odysseus, so that he may return. Talasiphronos is who bears things in his mind or in his being. I don't know. I can't come up with a
Heart?
Heart.
Heart.
Okay, in his heart. Okay,
Yeah, the talas is about how
bearing.
yeah,
Yes.
he is endure suffering and keeps on going.
Right.
He's like the energizer.
And the reason I was thinking of heart is that it can be a synonym of heart, and since Odysseus keeps telling himself, "Tetla thimoi kradie," endure my heart.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And here you've got telesiphron, so
Yeah,
they're equivalent.
yeah, so
frame
sort of,
and
yeah.
kradie.
And you also, up above, you had polύφρονα.
That's
Which
right.
is-
Also got the same word in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is, and I just translated that as wise, but it's having a lot of, in this case, I think it is more mental than
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's either one, it's mind, it's heart, it's, in between the two.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see, anything to comment on this? Let me see if I can get started with that. Well, I think we may have talked about gray-eyed Athena, owl-eyed
I think we
Athena
did that,
already,
yeah.
so we don't need to stop with that.
Yeah. It may be that, remember that you see owls when you see her, right? So it's not always, yes.
And all about initiation that Lenny has
And
published about.
subjective, yeah. Okay, but anyhow, just
So
to
that,
remind you,
so the idea is that she may be appearing as an owl
to people, yes.
to people.
Yes.
So gλαυκῶπις, suggests that too. So let's see. Well, anyway, here's Zeus the father, right? It's our father, pater maetere.
Which he is not really, right?
Well, not of all of them,
no,
but
no,
but he's the pater andron to theontes.
Yes,
so
exactly.
he
So
just
he's the sociological, if not the biological.
right.
In Tennessee Williams terms, he's the big daddy.
Daddy.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
That's right. I just saw
Exactly.
a cat on a hot tin
Oh, you
roof.
did?
Yeah.
That's where the big daddy really emerges.
That's
Or a
right.
Big puppy, right?
Oh well, that's not the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
That's true.
Same kind of character, yes.
So ŷπατε κρειόντων, the highest of those who have power, or those who have strength, those who rule.
Of the Lords, right?
Of the
isn't it?
Lords.
Right, because it's like,
And
Yeah.
it's nice that this is the same word that gives you the name Creon.
yeah.
Right.
And also it's the same as Shri in Sanskrit, right?
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Let's see. The blessed gods. I don't have anything particular to say about that, but I think it's self-explanatory why they would be blessed. Let's see. I don't have much more to say. I mean, this is all
Well,
just narrative.
Yeah, but you're Mr. Nostos.
Well,
Yeah.
we're getting down to that.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Could remind our readers out there.
sure. That this is the plan of the gods, that Odysseus will have a nostos, and it's it's nice. The line has the noun, the nominal form at the beginning of the line, and then the verb at the end that's associated with it. Noston neetai, the return of Odysseus.
In 87, yeah.
How he, right, the last line I did, that he returned, I would say.
So you can tell that they understood the etymological relationship.
Right, right, and it's emphatic. I mean,
Yep.
this, framing of the line with the noun and the verb. Anybody want to pick out anything else to talk about?
So there's the role of Hermes in the return. Is
Oh,
being
okay.
brought up too, right?
Yes. Well, why don't you go ahead?
No, but
Oh, I should say something.
well, yeah. I mean,
Well, Hermes is the messenger of the gods, so that's the basic thing here.
ostensible function, yes.
But he also is a psychopomp, meaning he conducts souls to the underworld, and in this case, he is helping to bring one back from a place that's very much like the underworld, namely the island of Ogygia. And I think it's in Hesiod that Styx inhabits a place, or there's an oath by Styx that is called Ogygion. In other words, this word has Stygian overtones.
Underworld.
And I think Stygian, or the underworld.
Yeah.
And I think that we maybe talked, or I did, a few months ago about Styx and Calypso being, let's say, multiforms, or that I would even say that Calypso is derived from the figure of Styx. Styx being the more established mythological figure, Calypso, the encloser, sort of being shaped in the image of Styx. That's how I would see it. Thank you, Lenny.
Okay. But I mean, it's also true that Hermes has I mean, there's Athena and Hermes. These are really important. Aside from Poseidon, these are the really important gods for Odysseus, right? We talked about polύtropos at the beginning of the poem, right?
Yeah, we'll keep
Stuff
going.
like that.
Keep going, yes.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
because Hermes is a god who communicates. So this is a central function of Odysseus too, right? He's related to him,
Right.
and this god has a special relationship to Odysseus that's to some extent being has been replaced by Athena or something like that, or she's taken over a more intimate role with him than Hermes, but it's still lots of Hermes in the story and their relationship. And there is Hermes and Athena have a long relationship in themselves to each other, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting story, isn't it? I'm
Yes.
not sure I know all
Me
that
neither.
there is to say about that. But
Yeah. Greg, do you have anything you want to say about this?
Maybe one other thing is that polύtropos is the conventional epithet of Hermes in the Homeric hymn to Hermes.
Right.
And in the Odyssey, we talked about this when we went through the beginning of the Odyssey.
Yes, yes.
But just to repeat, in the Odyssey, polύtropos occurs only twice.
Yep.
And when Circe is asking Odysseus, who's not yet identified himself, "Are you Odysseus polύtropos, about whom Hermes told me?"
Yes,
And
exactly.
so there's the Hermetic
Yep.
signature that takes us all the way back to the beginning,
Yep. Yep.
where Odysseus has that otherwise only other attestation of polύtropos is epithet. That's
Right,
just
right.
wonderful.
And there's a parallel set up between Circe's and Hermes and Circe's and Odysseus too.
Yes.
The encounters are very
right.
close. Yeah.
Are we going clockwise?
I
think
can't
we-
remember.
Oh, we went
I was to be next.
from right
Okay.
to left.
Yeah,
before.
because I messed up the order here. All right. So, ἀθάρ γόν ηθακέν δε σαλαούσαμαι, αφρα hoi huion, μάλλον απ' το τρούνο kai hoi menas enfresi theo, es agorén kalesanta karekama ontas Achaeans, pᾶσι mneste resen ap αίπαινεν, hoi te hoi aie mel hadinas vadzusi, kai নম্বৰ helekas bus. Ἀθάρ is hard to translate, but it's switching subjects, right? So, as for me, okay, as opposed to standing Hermes, I think, right? So there's a parallelism being asserted between their roles. I will go to Ithaca, so that his son, I may urge on mᾶλλον, stillbore, and put menos in his fresi, in his mind, heart, okay? And menos is, did we talk about this? I think we did, right? It's that one, some kind of incitement is the way you translate it.
Right.
Yeah, calling the Achaeans, whose heads have long hair, to an assembly, how are we going to do this?
Tell off.
Fell off. Oh, that's really good. All the suitors, right? Who continually, or is that the way you did Ie, Greg?
Again and again?
Again and again, okay, are sacrificing his flocks in swarms, hadina, right?
Yeah.
It's a kind of bee metaphor embedded in hadina, isn't it? And his υλπατας helikaspus. These are more glosses, but it's whose feet go in circles, and helix is a spiral, and these are epithets of the cattle of the sun, right? We're pretty sure.
Well, Helicos looks like it.
Yeah,
It could be.
yeah,
Yeah. The traditional way to do it is to say that they have curved horns, but there's
Yes.
no horns there.
No.
Yeah.
And I remember Doug telling you and me, Lenny, that it's a spiral
Yes.
because as you track the sun,
Yes.
and as the sun's path gets wider and wider in the warmer seasons and
Right.
and narrower in the cooler seasons, if you cut a spiral in half,
Yeah. That's what you get.
that's what you get. And so the prototype, the model for these cattle are the cattle of the sun, although here
It's certainly
they're not
them.
cattle of the sun, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. Isn't there something also about there's a culture that the Kurgan culture that has those symbols of the path through the zodiac
think so.
in a half a spiral?
I think so.
Yeah.
This is in Central Asia.
Yeah, yeah. But so it's a beautiful thing that you have what's really originally a mythologically embedded string of epithets for cows that's become just something that they no longer understand in there. This is an example of how the meaning of the beautiful language is not necessarily preserved, but the language itself is, right?
Right. How did you do Hadina again?
I think in swarms is what I said.
Aha, right. Yeah, that's good. Or in droves or
Would
something.
you agree, Greg?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's the idea of a mass of whatever you're counting, but you
Yes.
can't even count it. Just keeps
Yes.
coming at you and coming at you
Yeah,
and coming
exactly.
at you.
Another use of it, I think, is tears in some context, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hadina,
Yeah.
Dakrua, Hadina, or some
Something
form
like
of
that. Yeah.
It's where the tears keep on coming and you lose count.
Right.
What about the combination of mela and boos? Okay, you're obviously trying to make the number sort of maximize the quantity of cattle that they're consuming, right? Which is the most important, most expensive property that the guy has.
The boos. Yeah.
And the mela are sheep.
Yeah.
Would you say? Or
I would say
just
Oh, they have
flocks?
to be sheep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So it's the second level and then the top level.
well, the problem is that in real life, you'd like to be able to sacrifice in a big community, sacrifice 100 cattle.
Yes.
But sometimes you can't afford to, or there aren't that many around.
Right.
And even in Homeric poetry, a hecatomb, which is technically 100 cattle, can include sheep.
Yes.
So the sheep kind of make up for what's missing
Right.
in your cattle count.
Right.
And incidentally, the sun has both sheep and cattle.
There you go.
Oh, cool.
Yes,
All
yes.
right, good.
So if sometimes the sun can't afford 100 cattle,
That's right.
Nice.
but you know,
Depends on the
people were telling me, Greg, do you really think that in 600 BCE, the Federation of Cities at Lesbos could afford to herd together 100 cattle for the hecatomb in honor of Hera, or for that matter in Argos when Electra is being invited to the big party at the ball?
I say they
Are there
could.
really 100 cattle, or do you fill in the missing gaps with sheep?
Sheep.
It's a notional 100 cattle.
And
right.
notional.
But also Doug and I went to this wonderful place in Turkey. Well, it's now
Yes.
Turkey, which is
Yes.
Claros. right?
Claros,
Yeah.
and there embedded in the ground are places for hooks for 100 animals to be
Sacrificed,
lined up
to
and
be sacrificed.
That's right.
There are
This is-
exactly 100 of them.
Yeah.
But this is Hellenistic times,
Yes, yes.
when they were richer. But,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes notionally, it's
Yeah.
not just notionally, it's actually.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a beautiful diorama showing them.
Right.
Yeah. But anyhow. Yeah. What about there's another thing that occurred to me. Oh, the fact that the Achaeans have long hair
Oh,
is important. Yes.
well, they have long hair notionally until they cut it.
their hair.
Cut it because they're grieving for Achilles.
Exactly. Exactly. And, they
And I
cover
try to
his
make
body.
that argument
Yes.
in the book Ancient Greek Hero in 24 Hours, where sometimes you actually see the moment where people, the Achaean warriors, cut their hair. And the big exception, of course, is Sparta. In Sparta, grown men do not cut their hair, but they just have to be different in everything.
But there's also things like the moment in the beginning of the Iliad where the goddess Athena grabs Achilles by
Oh,
the hair from
yeah.
behind.
He clearly
Yeah,
he
he's
starts
got
off with long hair, but
Yep.
then at the funeral
of Patroclus,
he cuts it.
off. Yes, exactly. So
And then the Myrmidons cut their hair, but we don't hear about whether the Achaeans cut their hair.
right.
And that you have to put together by reading Philostratus and other retrospective narratives.
Yeah, yeah. Then there's the expression kai hoi menos en phresitheo, which gets a lot of play in this part of the text,
Well,
right? That's the
and,
first
yeah,
appearance of it.
Because putting Menos into the phrenes, the breathing of Telemachus, means that if you want to say that as an agent noun, it would be mentes, the person who
Menos is
puts
you.
menos in. That's in Rhapsody 1, or mentor, Rhapsody 2. And technically, mentes in 1 and mentor in 2 are old friends of the father.
Right.
But
They're the form that Athena takes.
but clearly it's the mentor role, the mentoring role.
Right.
And that's what Athena is going to do by assuming the identity of mentes here and then mentor in Rhapsody 2.
Yeah. So, but you see her doing this, and even in the Iliad too, she puts menos into people who are
Yes.
wounded, for example, and they regain their strength and courage, right?
She also does it with Diomedes' horses
Yes.
Yes.
in the chariot race.
Yes.
Yes.
She's
Really something.
she's in charge of Menos.
So epatruno is sort of a really beautiful synonym for it.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Because mentor, just go back to that as an agent noun,
Yeah.
but there is no real verb meno, meaning to arouse.
Right.
What takes the place of it is this epotruno.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent. So you find those together, menos and epotruno.
What about the mάλλον there? It's interesting, isn't it, that you use a comparative in a sort of absolute way?
Yeah.
He's already been doing, she has already been doing it, now she's going to do it more,
More is the implication.
I think. Evermore. Because it doesn't happen all at once. It's not that he gets, shall we say, infused with the male heroic energy and then is like Superman.
I mean, she keeps on doing it to
She
him,
has
right?
to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
But-
maybe it means more and more here.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not that she's been doing it up to this point.
Right.
It's that she's going to
Rouse him up more
do
and
it
more.
gradually.
Yeah.
Yeah.